Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the annual Christmas light display at One Kentucky Park was met with a new annual tradition, floodwaters.
And many kids see the hospital as a scary place. But officials with Pikeville Medical Center want to eliminate that stigma through interactive demonstrations.
Plus, a Kentucky lawmaker has proposed a bill in Frankfort that would legalize marijuana as a way to pay for the state's retirement system.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6 o'clock. I'm Will Puckett.
And I'm Madison Pergram.
Well, thank you for tuning in to Mountain News This Morning on this Wednesday. And we've mentioned it a couple times this morning. We all, at some point on our morning drive in, hit a slick spot. And so that's going to be something to watch. We've got a handful of delays and a handful of even cancellations on this Wednesday. So let's bring Brandon in. Brandon, the bad news for people who hate the cold, it's cold. The good news, this should be our coldest day of the week, really, shouldn't it?
Exactly. We should have one more morning that could be a little colder than this morning, but after that, temperatures start to trend upward both day and night as we head into the latter parts of this week and the early parts of next week. Let's take a look outside the WYMT studios here on our Camry and the Hazard, and you see not a whole lot of activity right now, not much traffic either. Be careful when you do hit the roads because, as we mentioned, some slick spots even on the main roads a possibility. I know those transportation crews out trying to get those roads treated there a little bit, and it's very spotty. Again, you may go across a bridge or at an intersection and you had just a patch of ice and you'll be dry for the rest of your drive. So just kind of keep that in mind. Temperatures in the mid to upper 20s this morning, some low 20s over toward Wise, Ashland this morning. Again, just be very careful. Bundle up. Max warming needed on the coffee meter as we get closer there to the 20-degree mark in a lot of locations. Your emoji cast as we look ahead. Frosty morning, heavy frost on a lot of the cars that they've been parked all night. So a cold day ahead even with the sunshine. Sunny skies and a touch warmer tomorrow, and by Friday, lots of sunshine and some warmer temperatures. We'll talk all about that coming up here in just a little bit. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we now know the funeral arrangements for a Knott County Sheriff's deputy that died unexpectedly. Deputy Bobby Jacobs died Monday morning. The group Supporting Heroes says he suffered a heart attack hours after responding to a call. Deputy Jacobs was also a school resource officer in Knott County. His visitation will be tonight from 6 until 9 and anytime tomorrow at the Nelson Frazier Funeral Home in Hindman. His funeral will be Friday afternoon at 1 at the Knott Central High School gym. Deputy Jacobs was 47 years old.
And Monday night's rain brought more than flooding to Floyd County. It also put a damper on Prestonsburg Christmas light display.
This has been something we've seen repeatedly over the past couple of years. WYMT's Buddy Forbes was there as crews were working to bring light back to the annual attraction.
It may not be the traditional sounds of Christmas cheer.
Last year it happened 6 times. This is the first time this year. We've been very fortunate so far.
But it is a song the people of Prestonsburg know all too well, as floodwaters once again interfere with Archer Park's Christmas display.
If you see these kids' eyes light up when they come through here and they see Santa and they see these lights, you understand our frustration that we want to try to get this changed so we can keep it up all through the season.
Mayor Les Stapleton says he has previously reached out to state officials to discuss the possibility of having the water flow rerouted to avoid the park area.
It's really heartbreaking to have to see us have to deal with this year after year after year. So I've reached out to some people and trying to get some help.
Though he has not heard back from anyone, he remains hopeful, saying the city will continue to do everything it can to keep the lights on.
We'll be here quite some time. Fire department jumps in, Public Works jumps in, especially this time of year, so that we can try to get everything back up and running.
And keep the spirits alive. In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Mayor Stapleton says none of the lights were damaged by the high water, and the city hopes to have all of the lights back on by 5:30 tonight.
And transportation officials urge everyone to remain careful on Highway 451 in Perry County. They cleaned up a mudslide yesterday that shut down the road until early afternoon. Officials tell us why they did remove the bulk of the rock and mud. The road is still slick.
Meanwhile, Kentucky 40 in Paintsville was closed through the night and until further notice. That is due to a large crack developing in the rock cutout near the road. They will begin work later today to stabilize the hill. Officials expect work to last a couple of days.
And the search continues after one person was swept away by floodwaters. The victim was caught in high water along State Route 2 in Greenup County, which was under a flood warning when the report came in. The flood was still moving swiftly as of last night, making rescue efforts more difficult and dangerous.
Over in Boyd County, emergency crews are investigating a roof collapse there. According to 911 dispatchers, it happened just before 9 a.m. yesterday at Dan's Auto Repair on Center Street in Catlettsburg. Right now, we don't know if anyone was injured.
And many kids see a hospital as a scary place, and officials with Pikeville Medical Center are trying to break that stigma through interactive demonstrations.
WYMT's Marianne Fletcher was there as students participated in a tour of their pediatric facility.
Going to the hospital can be scary, especially when you do not understand the world around you.
Our goal with this project was to be safe versus scared.
Officials like Megan Allen at Pikeville Medical Center are working to change the narrative.
Because when they're learning you what happens before you come to here.
We don't want them to feel scared when they come here. We want them to know that this is a safe place and that we're here to take care of them.
Open for elementary school tours, these eager students get to see what they may encounter with an ER visit.
We then have a black light that comes on and shows them if they've washed their hands adequately enough so they can see the germs that are left on their hands and fingers.
What did you see when you looked in there?
Germs.
They're just like little sponges. They're absorbing all the information, and it's so exciting to see them.
Along with these tours, PMC is one of few hospitals with a pediatric readiness certification in Kentucky.
We want to expose these kids to what we do on a daily basis.
Hoping to inspire other little boys or girls
I want to do put casts on people.
to pursue a career in the medical field. In Pike County, Marianne Fletcher, WYMT Mountain News.
Well, that'll put a smile on your face for the day. If your school would like to schedule a tour, we have information on how to do so on our website at WYMT.com.
And the Kentucky Distillers Association says that tax relief for distillers will continue for another year. An extension was granted weeks before that tax cut would have run out. As part of a 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, distillers were given a tax cut for their spirits. But without an extension, the taxes would have gone up 400%. The Kentucky Distillers Association says the tax cut is helping the industry grow.
A Kentucky lawmaker is pushing to legalize marijuana in the Commonwealth. Representative Cluster Howard pre-filed a bill that would also decriminalize possession of less than 1 ounce and clear the record for people convicted of marijuana-related misdemeanors.
Now, Representative Howard says the legislation could help Kentucky's pension issues. Victor Puente explains.
Basically, it's adult use of cannabis for people 21 and over.
Representative Cluster Howard says the public support for this move has grown in recent years.
I grew up with reefer madness, and there was this idea that if you use cannabis, then you were going to immediately start using LSD and heroin, and times have changed, and because I understand that people now are more knowledgeable about the product, I just thought it was a good time to bring the bill forward.
His plan is for the revenue from the sale of cannabis products to go to the Kentucky Retirement System and Kentucky Teachers Retirement System. In the past, critics have said that the revenue generated wouldn't be enough to impact the state's pension debt.
Well, it's definitely going to affect them more positive, not raising any revenue, which is the terms I've served in Frankfort. All I hear is cut, cut, cut.
That bill wouldn't create any kind of new organization. Instead, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board would oversee the licensing needed to grow and sell cannabis. It would also impact people who have been arrested for low-level marijuana charges.
We're going to expunge the records of people who've been charged or convicted of a misdemeanor crime associated with the use, possession of marijuana.
A bill pushing for medical marijuana failed last year. Howard told me even if his bill doesn't pass, he hopes it moves the conversation forward.
We were not able to determine what Kentucky would make the first year or two, but we really think that it could generate hundreds of millions of dollars down the line.
In Frankfort, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Now, that bill would prohibit smoking marijuana in public.
Well, how about this for the power of sports? In his Heisman Trophy acceptance speech on ESPN Saturday, LSU quarterback Joe Burrow mentioned the economic struggles of his hometown of Athens, Ohio. The speech sparked a response on social media. Now people across the country have donated more than $300,000 to the Athens County Food Pantry. That organization serves 9,000 meals a month to needy families. If you haven't seen Burrow's speech, I highly recommend watching.
The forecast this morning, pretty quiet across most of the region. Let's take a look at our cameras. Mountain Parkway camera at Slate. Some traffic moving along there. Maybe just a touch of fog there. We're kind of seeing that in the distance. Kind of a darker camera, but I do believe we're seeing just a little bit of that. It will be freezing fog because of the simple fact that we are below freezing everywhere this morning. Very cold out there. Some heavy frost on the cars. So make sure you give yourself time to warm those up or scrape those off. And some slick spots on the roads. Low to mid 20s across the entire region. Upper 20s there in Jacksboro, but those temperatures continue to fall. Winds are picking up there out of the west, and we're going to continue to see those create some pretty good wind chills. Feels like the teens there in some areas this morning. 37 your forecast high today after a frosty start, and sunny clouds will be around a little bit later on. Madison.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you for joining Mountain News this morning.
More news is on the way. Coming up today, we may see President Trump become the third president in history to be impeached.
And the Democratic debate will go on as planned after a labor union dispute almost derailed the event.